Hi everyone, hope you're all doing well. Today we've got a week ahead preview for you guys to get you ready for the week that is coming up in the stock market. And it's going to be a busy one, but this time it's not really going to be on the US stock market. We're going to be looking at the UK markets a lot because, as you probably know, the talk of the week, what the media is going to be covering, what investors are going to be covering is when the budget happens this week. That's going to be the talk. So we'll get onto that and what I think could potentially happen a little bit later on in the video. Before we do get ready for the week ahead, just want to say the Black Friday, it is on its last week now, guys. So on Sunday, on the weekend coming up, once it's gone, it is gone. The Black Friday deal will be finished. So this is your last week to sign up. If you do want to join, send me an email, jkinvesting@gmail.com. What you get access to is 100 exclusive videos on there. The private group, you get to talk to members on the Discord, including me. And obviously, so far this year, I think we're up double compared to the S&P 500, which is obviously to get that sort of access. You know, you're normally paying £500, £600 a year, but for this one here, £44 for the full year. I don't want to rip people off, so yeah, it's good value. So if you do want to join, this is your last chance as well. But earnings wise, if we look here on the US markets, it should be quite a week. We have Thanksgiving, so everyone kind of goes on holiday on the US, and that's clear when you look at the earnings week. Really, Zoom is the big one, I would say, on the Monday. On Tuesday, we've got Alibaba and Neo. They're interesting. Would be interesting to get some commentary around what is going on in the retail space with the likes of Kohl's and Best Buy potentially. Workday's not too bad of a one. Zscaler is actually quite an interesting one. And then we have John Deere on Wednesday, and then basically and Ehang as well, which is one I do own. So we'll see what happened with going on there. And then Thursday, boom, we're shut. So don't make the error of going onto your account and going, why none of these US stocks are not moving, and then you realise it's because of the Thanksgiving, and then Friday is a half day as well. So basically the back end of the week is a complete write-off in the US markets, which isn't too bad because the last few weeks have been absolute chaos. On the UK markets, we've got a few more that are reporting earnings. One that I used to own, Supreme, is reporting. We've made some really good money on Supreme, so we'll see what happens there. They've been like acquisition after acquisition at the moment, so that'll be interesting to see. As well as that, Kingfisher potentially. I thought Pets at Home were reporting, but it's not on here at the moment. Speedy higher. Catebox is one I own, so we'll see what is happening with Catebox. It feels like for like the last last year it's up 11%, which I guess isn't terrible, but it just doesn't seem to be moving too much at the moment. But financially, they've been doing really well. The forecast at the moment is for them to go from 37 million in revenue to 62 million in revenue. Net profit is expected to go from 4 million to 6 million. And 2026 numbers will put them towards 14 times earnings, and next year's numbers puts them down to 12 times earnings. And I got to say, when you look at it here, 12 times earnings for a company growing about 10% a year, not terrible value. I saw on Stockopedia earlier today that they're currently growing the like for like at like 3%, and I read the preview going into Stockopedia, and they said the like for like performance has been poor and below inflation. I was like, flipping heck, if you think that's poor, you want to go see what B&M are doing on the like-for-like numbers. But as well as that, there's some, I'm going to use Stockopedia here. There's also a couple of interesting data points coming up in the US markets as well. If I just scroll down here, I think they've got the likes of the GDP. Yeah, so if you look here, monthly retail sales, producer price index, consumer confidence, you got the personal income, for example, Q3 GDP numbers on the US markets. So yeah, you got a few interesting numbers from the US markets, to be fair, this week as well. But you can see here, I mean, that's the one that we're going to be looking at 26th of November on the Wednesday, the autumn budget at 12:30. So I'm sure we'll probably make a video on that as well. So we'll get on to that and some thoughts in a second. Before we do that, little mention from today's sponsor, investing.com. Today's video is sponsored by investing.com. Now, I'm sure you've seen me use investing.com before in my videos for breaking news stories in the stock market, but they also offer other things like Investing Pro. Investing Pro has many services like ProPicks AI. This is AI identifying stocks that could potentially be undervalued and gives you opportunities to look at and potentially buy. One of the categories they have is Tech Titans. You can see here this has returned 2,748% in the last 12 years, which is not too bad at all. That's an annualized return of 29% a year. If you want other categories like UK stocks, they also have them with Beat the FTSE and UK mid-cap movers. They also have another very exciting tool, which is Warren AI. This is a search engine to help you do your research on stocks. And the great thing about investing.com is they're currently doing their Black Friday sale. That gives you 55% off all of those features just mentioned. And as well, with my link in the description, it gives you another 15% on top of that Black Friday sale. So if you do want to join, there'll be a link in the description and in the comment section. So go take advantage of that right now. Thanks to investing.com for sponsoring today's video. So with that done, let's take a look at the budget 2025. So yeah, we have the budget on Wednesday, and what is going to happen is basically anyone's guess. I mean, ultimately, we know they've got a 21 billion black hole, is it? I think they've created that they've got to fill in. So there's going to be tax hikes. We just don't know exactly where the tax hikes are going to come from. We've had some suspicion that the income tax is going to be hiked up, and then we're hearing that income tax is not going to be getting hiked up. There's been so many things fed to the media. Obviously the reason why a lot of these things are being fed to the media is because of the reaction and going, was that well received? What was it out? Was there a big outcry when that was put to the media, or was it okay? Do we think we can get away with that one? And there's been a lot of things leaked there just to see the reception, but there's been that many things now tested. It's probably a big guess on what is actually going to get announced, really. My feeling is that we're obviously going to get some hikes. What it's going to be, I don't know. I think that I don't think they can go for businesses as aggressively as they did last time, because I think they did that last time quite heavily. So I think us are going to feel it a little bit more. Through some form of sneaky tax, I can see happening. Not 100% what it is. I think they'll also, obviously gambling taxes is one thing that they'll go for. I think that is certainly to go through, and that's for me why I've not really been buying too many gambling stocks at the moment, even though they've been good value. Like some Flutter's been interesting. Gaming Realms has had a big pullback before it, so that could be something really interesting to watch. Landlords, I think landlords could be massively targeted potentially. So we'll see if that does happen, and there could be other things. I mean, who knows? I mean, it feels like to me the market at the moment is pricing in that it's the worst case scenario. And I think the reason why they're doing that is because last time of how bad it was, that they think anything could happen. So if the budget is bad but not terrible, I think we could see a rally with the budget. That's what I potentially happen. But if it is terrible, that's when we're going to be concerned. And it could be terrible. I think last time when the budget happened last year, the market initial reaction was, oh, that wasn't as bad as what we thought. And then eventually they realised and went, actually, that's a bit of a bad budget. And then it killed a lot of stocks off after, people realised. So that is always an option. I don't know. Like I said, anything can happen, because you look at what they did last time and you think, surely they can't be that stupid, and obviously they were stupid. And the tactic that they went down of ended up putting inflation up double. The growth collapsed by half in that time frame, and then that ended up creating an even bigger hole. The big thing is that they've got to be careful and not to get into a cycle where they just end up getting in a cycle all the time where they have to put get more taxes because the growth is lacking, and that's not filling the hole in. That's the cycle that you don't want to get in. And ultimately, that's the big thing that the government have to tackle, is that they've got to realise that you can't keep putting up taxes, because the way you get the economy to grow is taxes going down. So if you keep putting them up, you just get in the cycle where next year then you have to you end up putting taxes up again to cover the drop off in like GDP growth and everything like that. The only way you get it to work is tax cuts. So I don't think they'll surprise us and bring loads of tax cuts out, but maybe the slap on their hand from last time has made them realise that they can't do too many things stupid. But I just don't know if with these guys. So we'll see what comes out on Wednesday. My big hope really is that My number one thing I would hope they don't cut is ISAs. That's what I hope they don't go for, because I feel like that is probably the one big tax benefit that we have in the UK is our ISAs, especially for like the smaller investors. You know, actually, you earn your money and you get to put it in, and that risk that you take, you don't have to pay any taxes on it, and it helps you climb up the ladder if you make, you know, decent returns. It's one of the best things that we've had, and you know, it's been around for many years now. And after things have just got harder and harder for especially the newer generations, if they went to the newer generation now and said, "Oh, and now we're going to take that tax-free benefit away from you that many other people have had for many years to benefit from, but now we're also going to take that away from you," I think that would be a major error. So we'll see if that is something that they go down. I won't rule it out, to be honest with them, but yeah, but that's probably the one big thing that I will be staring at and listening to. But hopefully that's something that they don't touch. But apart from that, I mean, I could sit here and speculate for many minutes about what they could do, but we'll find out on Wednesday. And like I said, I think I'll probably try and make a video on some of the key points on Wednesday, hopefully for you guys. But that's just a couple of things to watch out for this week. Obviously, US, bit of a quiet week. UK, couple of earnings there. Couple of key data points coming out from the US, and obviously the big one is going to be the budget in the UK. So we'll see what happens there. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video, anyway, guys. See you in a bit.